this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to create custom meshes with collision for Fallout 4 using Blender. You will need Fallout 4 for PC, the creation kit for Fallout 4, Blender, or other modeling program that supports NIF exports, some form of image editing program like Photoshop or GIMP. You will also need a plugin for that program. In this case, I'm going to be using Photoshop, so I'll need the Intel Textureworks DDS plugin. And you will need the material editor if you're going to be making custom materials, depending on your use case. If you have a mesh that needs to use materials, custom swaps, or anything, you'll want to use the material editor. And you will also need to know how to use the programs because, well, if I were to go over how to actually use the programs, this video would be 10 hours long. So with that out of the way, first things first, you will need a mesh that you will be using. In this case, I'm going to be using this mesh, which is from Battlefield 4. Reason being is because it has a very low vertex count, which in Fallout 4, the NIF format can only support up to 65,000 verts and no higher. If you exceed the limit of verts, you will get a mesh error and the mesh will not load into the game. There's no way past this. It is a hard-coded limitation of the format. The only way to get around it is to split your mesh into multiple parts and make a static collection. That is the only way to bypass it. As for this, you want to make sure you download this. I will be linking it in the description as an FBX file. We will need the textures to be separate. If it were to be a GLB file, they won't be separate. They will be baked into the file. We do not want that. And once you have that mesh, go to wherever you have it downloaded, extract, and take the two folders you have from the file that you just extracted. And you will have a textures folder, which has your textures, and you will have a source folder. In this folder will be the FBX. In this case, we're actually going to want to use these here. And you'll have your FBX file and your texture folder, which will have your textures. And once you have those, go back into Blender and navigate to wherever you have those, which I have a lot of files on here, so it's going to be kind of difficult to find it. Better yet, I'm going to do this. There we go. And once you have it loaded, click the material preview. Now this is going to look awful because this is not blended. This one right here needs to be set to blended. There we go. And it will look like this. We'll change this later in NifSkope so it won't be that white. And the first things first is if there's anything you want to remove it now because it will be a pain to remove later. Yeah, so we have a lot of objects, which we do not want. We have 25 objects. I'm going to select everything in the scene, everything in the collection by pressing A. Then I'm going to press right click, join everything into one. I'm going to click it again, Control A, E, by material. And this will basically split everything into different materials. So make it easy to apply collision materials later. Although some parts definitely need to be fixed, like these wheels, which I'll do first. And the first things first, I need to select just the wheel because we're going to make this a different material later. You only want to select the parts that you want to be that material. For example, this is going to be rubber and this inner is going to be metal. So we don't want these to be the same, or we don't want these to be selected. Do selection, this will be separate, a whole separate object, and these will be a separate object. These will be cloths, so these will be easy. I'll just name these cloth, and we can hide these for now. This gun up here, metal, gun, wheels, these are the tires. We'll do rubber, tires. These actual cartridges right here will be metal as well. Metal cartridges. Actually, this right here as well is going to be rubber. This will be attached to the other one. Although I think these are different. O2 default, O2 default. These use the same material, so I'll combine these. This rim, I will combine with these. It's also using O2 default, but these will be separate. This will be separate. This glass will be separate. And this glass lights, and this will be glass wind screen. And this is going to be metal main body. And these appear to be decals. They're actually just plates. It's kind of strange. Logo, weird. Yeah, but this will just be metal panel 2. And we'll have something like this. Now we need a size reference. So I will grab that real quick. It's only for scaling, so we know how big it is in relation to Fallout 4. So import a NIF file. I will navigate to wherever I have that stored. Go Fallout 4 size reference. For some reason, this is not wanting to render. I don't know why that's in wireframe mode. I got no idea on that. All right, whatever. First things first, or I'm gonna, actually, this is in a root, so I'm gonna select the entire root or not. I need to select this, scale this up, GZ, move it up, get it something that looks a little bit like that. Actually, I'm doing this wrong. I need to set that origin there. Looks about right. Doesn't have to be exact, just approximate. And that's cloth, that's rubber, that's metal. Okay, everything looks good. File transforms, Control A. I'm going to export this as a NIF, target game, Fallout 4, move, export vertex colors, and remove export animations. Then go to your meshes folder. If you don't have one, create one. Go to your prefix folder, create a new folder, BF for buggy. And I'm going to name this same thing, BF for buggy. There we go. Now we are done with Blender. Next step is to load up NifSkope and load up the mesh we just made. Should look pink. If it doesn't look pink and it looks black, that means you exported the vertex colors. I would just go back and just re-export it. It's a pain to convert it back into a pink format like this. And once you've done that, you will have something that looks like this. And the first thing we're going to do, go to our node, our scene root, go to number of children, set it to 0, because we do not want the children attached to the scene root, because we're going to have multiple collision materials, not just one for the entire thing. And the first thing we're going to do is node, or first of all, right click, node, attach node, node. We're going to do 3 of those, or 4 actually. So we have 4 collision materials, and we're going to do cloth, metal, rubber, and glass. We have 4 materials, or 4 nodes for our collision materials later. Before I move from here though, we need to remove these texture sets, because using one material is way faster than all these texture sets, because we only have one texture for the entire mesh, or a few. And we'll have our shader properties. And I'm going to start assigning these. So we have only 1 cloth. I'm going to go to number of children, change it from 0 to 1. And we're going to add the number associated with that tri-shape. In this case, it's number 9. So we'll do 9, and that will parent that to that node. For metal, we have 4, 5, 5. Same thing as before. 7, 11, 13, 15, and 19. For rubber, we only have 1. So we'll do only 1. For glass, we only have 1, or actually 2, or not 3, 2. So I'll do 5, 17. There we go. Now these are all parented to these nodes. Before we do anything further than this, we need to make sure our scale is applied. It should be. All you have to do is look in translation, rotation, and scale. If these are anything other than 0 and 1, then the scale is not applied. You have to go back and apply it, or go to transform apply, and that will apply your scale. Here, I am going to select the node, not tri-shaped inside of the node. You need to select the node and not the root node. Go to File, Export, OBJ. Let's say node selected. Say OK, save. That will export the OBJ. Back up to File, Import OBJ as collision. OK again. Import. We'll get a red wireframe. That is how you know the collision has been imported. And we'll do that for every single one. So wait a second. Okay, no, wait. I did this wrong. Hold on a second. Or did I? No, I did glass first. I usually start from the top. Okay, never mind. You do export OBJ. Place. So I already made it. Import, open. Take a bit longer for the more complex stuff. There we go. And for the cloth, export OBJ. Okay. Save. Yes. Import OBJ as collision. Okay. Open. There we go. Finally, rubber. In this case, the tires. And there we go. We have collision on every part of our mesh. Next thing is to start adding the collision materials. So select the collision object. It will turn yellow whenever it is selected. I'm going to start from the top first, which is metal. So you have your BHK collision object, BHK rigid body, and your BHK nitri strips shape. And you'll have material. In this case, it's set to none because that hasn't been selected yet. Go down and select metal. There you go. Now it will use the metal material. And in your BHK rigid body, you need to make sure that your layer is set to Fallout 4 static. Same thing for this layer in here. It needs to be set to Fallout 4 static. Motion system needs to be set to fixed. Deactivator needs to be set to deactivate never. Solver deactivation needs to be turned off since this object won't be moving. And the quality type needs to be set to fixed since again, it will not be moving. And that needs to be done for every collision object you have. Usually it'll do it automatically, but sometimes it won't. And you want to repeat that for all the other objects. In this case, I'm going to be using a special material, which is material rubber tire, glass, which again, we'll be using glass. And for cloth, we will be using cloth. And once your materials have all been applied, you can now add the flags node. So you right click on your scene root, block, insert, Bethesda, find your VSX flags block. I'm going to go down to integer data. You want to click on the flag, change it to bit 1 havoc. We'll set the flags to 2. Then want to go back to your 9 node, go to num extra data list, change it from a 0 to a 1. Click the little refresh, expand the drop down on the extra data list. At extra data 0, you want to double click, add a 1 that will parent your flags to your 9 node. Then want to go up to spells, sanitize, reorder. That will put your BSX flags at the top of the block list instead of the bottom. This is important if you're going to be doing anything, because if you try to run this with it at the bottom, you will get either an error or something else will not work properly. Again, not entirely sure, but it's best practice to always reorder your blocks whenever you make a change. Now this mesh is basically ready to use in game. Before we can do that though, we have to run it through Elric, but again, there's no textures, so we need to add the textures. And for that, we're going to use Photoshop. You can use GIMP, you can use whatever software you want for this, as long as you can export the texture as a DDS file. Doesn't matter what it is. It can be an online one, it can be anything that can export those type of textures. And I need to locate that file wherever I put it, and it will be under, genuinely cannot find it, over here then. And I'm going to start converting the textures. I'm going to start off with this texture. It's actually very small, and I'm going to do file, save as, and you need to make sure you have the NVIDIA Texture Tools plugin or TextureWorks plugin, or the NVIDIA one installed. You do that by just installing it as a plugin. Pretty simple. If you don't know how to install a plugin to Photoshop or GIMP, there's plenty of tutorials online. It's very easy. You just have to go to your program files and go to Adobe or whatever you have, and you can put the plugin file in there. This, I'm going to save it as a DDS using the Intel TextureWorks plugin. I'm going to go to my textures folder, my prefix I have made for myself, and I'm going to make a new folder for this, again, for VF4 buggy. Save it. This is going to be a color map, but because it does actually have, actually, I don't think this is used. Typically, this would be for the alpha, but I think it's just a color. It would be transparent usually if it was an alpha. So I'm just going to set it to color. Your compression type depends on what kind of quality you want. Space and size is a concern. If it's for console, you don't want to use BC7 all the time. It is the best quality, obviously, because this file is extremely tiny. I mean, that's kilobytes. Doesn't really matter too much. And you want to set your bitmaps to auto-generate unless you have them baked into the layers. Usually you're going to want to put it to auto-generate. Press OK, and that will convert your file. Next thing is this base color map. Doesn't look like we have a normal. We do actually have a normal. Weird. Okay, this one I'm going to save as again. DDS. Go to your texture folder. This is the wrong folder. VF4 buggy, save. It's important to also put the D at the end of it, _D, so you know it's a diffuse. And we're going to do color, everything the same. Save it. This is for the heavy machine gun on top. Save as, Intel textures folder. It's the wrong one. There we go. And this is for the extra stuff on the outside. Save as, EDS, VF4 buggy, save. And this actually looks like a specular map, so I'm not going to use that. And I actually don't know what this is used for. I don't think it's actually used, so I'm not going to use this one. It's also not power of 2. It's a odd shape. And then the lights, EDS, that is the recycle bin, VF4 buggy. There we go. And save, and that is all the textures for this particular mesh. Now we need to open the material editor. You can get the material editor on Nexus, and I'm going to do new material. I'm going to go up to diffuse, add a new texture, go to the Fallout 4 folder, texture folder, and select your texture. You also need to make sure receive shadows is turned on, and cast shadows is turned on. You want to have an environment map, which is important if you want it to be reflective. In this case, I don't, so I'm not going to turn it on. And you want specular, you also enable it here. Not going to have specular. Now all you got to do is save, back to your data folder, go to materials, go to new folder, same as before. And this is for the cartridges. I actually have no idea what this texture is. I've already forgotten. I think this is the main. I'm gonna just say main. Yeah, that's definitely the main. This is for the gun. And this is being saved to the texture folder. I'll just move these later. Buggy gun, BGSM, buggy cloth, and finally the lights. There we go. Now for the glass, I'm going to open, well, actually first I'm going to open one of my own materials that I've made. I'm going to steal its data. So I'm going to remove this, and I think I'm going to keep that the same. Save this as, back to our folder, buggy glass. Make sure it's an effects shader, not a standard one. Make sure you save. Sanitize some blocks if they're needing sanitizing. And once that is done, you have to reload this. Before I do that, I need to make sure I go into my other folder. I need to move these to the correct folder. There we go. Open up NifSkope, open up our buggy. and start assigning your textures. In this case, I'm going to use the main, and that applied correctly. There we go. For this one, if your materials are not showing up for some reason, it is because you have not set your resources correctly. So you need to make sure your game path is set and enabled, and you need to make sure your paths to your folders are actually set, because it won't know where those textures are or the materials. So you need to make sure you have those set up properly. And when you do, it should appear in your NifSkope viewport. As for the rest of these, they should use the same ones, and they do. These use the cloth ones that we made. Go. And this one uses the gun, and this uses the bullet one. There we go. As for the glass, we are not going to be using a BS lighting shader property. We're going to be using an effect shader. So I'm going to remove this, move, it'll turn black, select it again, go down to shader property, click on the green plus, add an effect shader, turn black, but you'll be able to see through it. Click it again, go to the effect shader, name, browse, glass, okay, turn opaque like this, but you'll be able to see through it in game. And finally, the lights, done. And the materials will be applied, collision will be applied. Next step is to click that up arrow. It will put everything back in order like this. You need to reorder your blocks again, and you're done. This mesh can now be converted. So I'm going to save it, close NifSkope, open Elric. Before I do anything, you go up to File, Load Settings, go to your Fallout 4 folder, Tools, wherever you have Elric installed, go to Settings, and click PCMeshes.esf. You're going to open it, press Yes. Options, tick these two boxes, press OK, and now we're ready to convert the mesh. You have to also make sure that Optimize Meshes is on, because that is the entire point. Go to Convert Meshes, go to the folder where you have the mesh, open, should get a green. Don't get a green box, usually means there's something wrong with the mesh, or if you get a blue, it usually means you've exceeded the format limitation or the vert count. If you get a red, usually that means it's not in the right folder. And once that's done, you can close Elric. Now you have to navigate to the folder where Elric processed the file. In this case, it's called process for me, but for you, it might be called something else. Usually it will be in your Elric folder like this. And you select it, cut it, or copy, whatever you want to do. Go to your meshes, create a new folder. You don't overwrite the original. Call this Elric converted, and paste your file in there. Now you can load up the creation kit. Once the creation kit is loaded, go up to File, Data, load your Fallout 4 ESM file, press OK, and wait for it to load. And once it loads, if it can load, please. Holy crap, this takes so long. There we go. Go to static, right click on one of these objects, click new, go to where it says model, click edit, edit again, navigate to the folder where you have your mesh, go to Elric converted, select the buggy, might give you like a bad 9 matrix or whatever. If it does, that usually means there's a problem with it. If that's the case, there might be an issue with it, but whatever. It should load okay in the game. If not, then that's a huge problem. But anyway, LTS or whatever your prefix is, static, and I'm just going to call this BF4 buggy, and click all, type prefix, and no, there's seriously something wrong with this. That is unfortunate because this looks fine in here. I don't know what is wrong with it. Yeah, I actually don't know what's wrong with this thing. Weird. I don't know why it's giving me an error. Very strange. Honestly, it could be the exporter. I don't even know. Weird. Load up the Commonwealth, or whatever cell you want to use, and then go down to whatever cell. In this case, I'm going to be using truck stop. There it is. Drag and drop to the scene. There we go. For some reason, it wasn't working in the preview, but in here it's working, which makes no sense, but there it is. Actually, yeah, that really doesn't make any sense how it's not. Like, I can load it in the game, but then I go to preview and there's nothing. And I double click it and there's nothing. Very strange. Anyway, there it is. Now I'm going to save this, save it as a new plugin, BF4 buggy, and I'm going to load this. So make sure you select your ESP that you just made and load the game. And there we go. It will load in game. It will have collisions. In this case, I'm going to increase my FOV because it's a bit low. There we go. Now, can't walk through it. That's proper collisions. There's nothing extruding or anything crazy. And every part that we just made has a separate collider. So the metal will act like metal. Rubber will act like rubber. And the glass will act like glass. For some reason, it's completely invisible. I don't know why that is. Typically it doesn't do that, but for some reason this one is not working properly. And this is cloth. And that's metal. So it has proper collision materials, multiple collision materials, proper collision, as well as transparent materials. That's basically it. That is the entire workflow. There is certain things that require extra steps. It's an animated object. You'll have to use different flags and different properties inside of the rigid body settings. But as for a static object, this is about as simple and easy as you can get. If you don't care for the extra materials, you don't have to add them. You can just do the one Nye node and just export the entire Nye tree, and you can just have one material for the entire thing. But yeah, that's basically it. Hopefully that helps somewhat. But yeah, that's it. That's the entire workflow.